am intrigued by the brilliance of these young people. I'm driven by this altruistic work to imbue them with the gift of education.
I was excited to be part of the Commemorative Scholarship panel because it feels like such a fitting way to commemorate 25 years of OSF-SA and also to honor the philanthropy of George Soros.
Scholarship is, I think, is a great enabler. It does make a difference who generates, who creates knowledge, who owns knowledge.
It is really investing in change. It's about supporting, very progressive young activists, scholars through the scholarship. Talking to some of these candidates, I am so confident in the future of South Africa.
An open society. Actually, for me, one of the most beautiful things in our constitution is the preamble. We as South Africans, we lay a foundation of an open and democratic society.
As a FISMA's fallist, I know how difficult it can be not being able to pursue something that you want to. So scholarships like this, that have focus areas, first of all, are very important.
I love the law. Law is what binds society together. And also when I study law, I'm not limited by other constraints. It's just my brain. That's the only thing required.
So my interest is around oppression. And because I am Black and I am woman, essentially trying to recalibrate what our feminism looks like. The standpoint from which I come from, which is the philosophy of Ubuntu, understands me as being a relational being. I also understand Ubuntu to be a system of justice and the philosophy of Ubuntu to really speak to the fact that a wrong must be rectified.
So I want to be part of the community of activists that when we see an injustice, we call it out and we do everything we reasonably possibly can.
An open society would mean no discrimination. It would mean no fear or favor.
The poor, the marginalized have voiced in terms of the decision that are taken. So for me, an open society is being participatory.
I say this outright with all so much respect that the AU is still a boys' choir and we need to dismantle that. But I think it has gotten to a point where African youth need to start questioning certain things.
What if we thought about land differently and food as part of that? And let's also think about what food means, to one's identity.
Why is local government struggling to fulfill human rights? What is the interface between communities and their municipalities?
What does integration mean? How do you self-identify? And what does that mean for society and social cohesion?
The current issue now, the buzzword is land expropriation of land without compensation. But this is also a debate which is parallel to that. Traditionally, it is allowed to sell land to these multinational corporations. Do they own the land?
I believe in a society where it's not only written on paper that women have a right to gender equality, have a right to participation in issues of politics, but where that participation and the exercise of those rights is actually enabled.
Being in civil society, you also are exposed to the work that people are doing and that relentless sense of justice. The struggle is hard and there's a lot to be done, but people are not giving up the fight.
I decided to pursue with the law degree because of the circumstances that we are facing from the community I was growing up back, such as human rights violations. A lot of those violations are not reported and then they continue happening because people lack the knowledge of law.
Having had experiences of safety while living in Khayelitsha, also being involved with the SJC, sort of showed me the relationship between personal experiences and how deep the structural problems are within our criminal justice system.
I'm embedded in sex workers' everyday lived experiences, and it's important for me to always be theorizing from the ground up instead of applying feminist theories and ideologies on people's bodies when actually people already know a whole lot more about their lives.
I have been working hard to sort of identify gaps in the inclusive education policy and to use the law to fill in those gaps.
I believe that we as scholars, we as citizens also have a role to play in framing our defense policy.
I think that the state presently is very classist and pro-rich and anti-poor, whereas the Constitution is supposed to protect the most marginalized and vulnerable in our society. We are where we are today because our parents, when they were youth, understood what their fight was. And we today need to understand what our fight is. And that's because our parents were to social justice.